Hello and welcome to Two Therapists and a Microphone. I am your co-host, Dr. Harrison Davis.
And I'm Dr. Aisha Dickerson.
Two Therapists and a Microphone is a show about mental health, relationships, and social issues that personally affect you. We broadcast live every Monday evening at 7 o'clock p.m. on the Our Black Media Network.
Harrison and I are two licensed psychotherapists with decades of clinical experience, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear about situations and dilemmas that you're going through. So you could do that by sending us a message by visiting our website, www.twotherapist.com, and clicking on As Two Therapists at the top of the page.
Absolutely. And I learned a new term recently. I think you and I are both CPCSs. That's
Yes,
certified clinical professional
professionals,
clinical social not social worker clinical
it's
supervisors.
supervisors in there
Yeah.
somewhere.
So I learned a new term doing some training with clinical supervisors. We are master
Oh,
therapists. That's right.
okay, I like
with
it because see,
with
I
with
have two supervision credentials, a national one and a
I got one. I
okay.
got the one through Georgia, which is good, and I had to
Okay,
go through some training to
yeah.
renew it. And the presenter for the webinar kept using the term master therapist. I
We're
like
gonna
that.
start calling ourselves master
I,
therapists.
I would say that to annoy some of our colleagues.
'Cause she done, I'm a
I'm a
master
master therapist.
therapist.
But Dr. Aisha, she mentioned it correctly. We're both licensed. We like to help people. We want to help you
We
out
do.
so you don't go to the foolish people who are going to
Don't
give you
do
some
it.
foolish advice about situations. So we want to hear from you guys. We have answered several questions over the years for people to try to help them out to figure out their situation. What's the next step? So today I want to, we did not receive one, but I was wanting to respond to something I heard on the radio
Okay.
this morning driving into work. And so I'm not going to say the radio show or the dial because I don't want to get in trouble. But
Because we will.
yeah,
We
we
will get in
will.
trouble.
So because I was actually thinking about playing it. So on the show, a caller called in, left a voicemail because she needed some help. She's a black woman, I guess around 30ish or so, and she has a boyfriend. She said everything was going well, with the boyfriend. Apparently, I'm assuming around a year or so they have been together, and the boyfriend had some type of medical emergency while he was at the job, and he had to call the ambulance. He called and texted her, and he told her which hospital he was going to, and she's being the girlfriend. She is concerned. She left her job to go to the hospital to figure out what was going on. When she got to the hospital,
I feel
he
like
he
I know
was
where this is going, and I'm afraid.
he was stabilized at that time, and whatever the condition was, it wasn't life threatening. But his ex girlfriend was there.
Does she work at the hospital?
Nope.
Okay.
And the caller said she was surprised and later discovered that the boyfriend had also called and texted his ex to tell his ex-girlfriend that he was having a medical emergency and that he was going to the hospital. There was no evidence as to which woman he called first, but the woman who called, she didn't know what to make of it. She didn't know what to make of it. She didn't know what to do. She was asking, was she overreacting? Should she do anything? And coincidentally, she had she asked the boyfriend about it. He said it was no big deal, that they are friends, that they were friends before they were a couple, and that they're still friends. And so the woman reached out to the ex girlfriend via social media, what you call sliding to the DMs.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a chat, and the ex said that she was still in love with the boyfriend, but they were not in a relationship. And
Okay.
so the woman was not quite sure what to do after all of that. There were no signs that he was having an affair, but she was really concerned and wondering why did he call his ex-girlfriend, and she beat her to the hospital. So that's the story. And there were a lot of hot callers calling into that. So what do you think of that story before we dive into it? What do you think about that?
So it depends on the bound. I tell people all the time, like, set your boundaries up front. What
Hello.
boundaries have been set? For some people, it's okay for you to be friends with your ex. For me, an ex that I've dated that I'm still friends with, I will never let anybody that I'm dating know that he's my ex. I would always refer to him as my friend. If we were friends before and we're friends after and we dated a little bit and he's going to be around, in order to cut down on drama, I'm just going to tell you that this is my friend.
Gotcha. So
Friend
you're going to protect
is going to be my friend.
that relationship that you're trying to build,
Right.
which makes sense to me, and making sure you're not introducing something that can make a crack in that
Well,
relationship.
to me, there are some things that never need to be brought up.
Okay.
Like if you're going to be in a circle, a group of friends, and maybe you and one of the new friends, maybe you and her, well, for you, Harrison, maybe you and one of the girls' friends
Hmm.
had a one night stand some years ago, or
Something
maybe
like that
you,
has happened to me in the
well,
past.
and me too. The
Yep.
thing is,
We're all grown.
if I know, and he knows,
I never said a
nobody
word.
needs to know.
Never
In my
said a
mind,
word.
I never have to worry about him saying anything. It's only something that he and I know. She doesn't need to know. My
Yep.
man doesn't need to know. My
Yep.
kid, if our kids are playing together, our kids never need to know. Everything doesn't have to be said.
Gotcha. So I like that. The theme of what you just mentioned is that keep the outside distractions outside, and certain things. If it's not interfering with your relationship, then there is no reason to mention. Oh, your homegirl. Oh yeah, I knew her. Few. Wow, I remember that.
Even we
I
used to
don't need to say
date.
that.
If nobody else is gonna bring it up, why are you gonna? You all may have dated a full, great 3 months.
Yes.
What's the point in bringing that
So
up
that's a
except to
good way
cause
to help
confusion?
protect your relationship.
Yeah.
But the other question I have for you, Dr. Aisha, because I want to hear your thoughts about this. So, if you're dating a guy, you're building that relationship, everything's going well, and let's say you have to go into the hospital, something mild happened, and you let your boyfriend know, would you call your ex to let them know? And I think we just lost
I'm still
Aisha.
here. I'm back
Okay,
now.
let me let you back in. Would you? Oh, nope. Add to stream. There we go.
There we go.
Would you call your ex and let them know that you're going into the hospital?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't even call my ex-husband.
I bet you would not. I am confident you would
He could
never do
have
that.
my kid and I could be on my deathbed and then no, I need to make sure everything else is set up before he's aware. I mean, he doesn't need to know.
Yeah. So there were callers calling in, saying that she was being insecure, making a big deal about it. And I took all that in. I was like, okay, maybe she might be overreacting just a little bit. But I
Again,
wouldn't
it's
like
just
that.
about your boundaries. So I always say there are some things that some people will accept that others want. Somebody is okay with their man not working and just sitting on the sofa all day as long as she knows that he is there and
I
they know
know
where he
women like
is.
that.
That's not me, but okay, that's fine. You know he's there because there's another woman who doesn't care that her man is out in the streets and sleeping around with everybody as long as he keeps the bills paid.
He
That's not
comes
me
home
either,
to
but
her.
that's her boundary. I'm not judging anybody's boundaries. What I'm saying is that you got to set your boundary. And if your boundary is that he can't talk to his ex, you now have to decide if you're going to be okay with them being friends or if you're going to try to give him an ultimatum and see where that goes.
Yeah, you're right on target with that. It's all about you, what you want. It doesn't matter what other people will put up with. It doesn't matter what they're going to deal with. It doesn't matter what they're okay with because there are a lot of people out there. They're okay with some shit
Hmm.
that's unhealthy,
I
but she
know.
wasn't okay with that, and she was surprised that the boyfriend was trying to influence her to be okay with it. It wasn't a big deal, but you're right. If it doesn't sit well in your spirit and it's causing a disruption for you, you have the right to say, I don't like this. And if you can't change, then you need to reevaluate how compatible you are
Hmm.
with that.
Because it doesn't mean that either of you are wrong. It just means that you're different. And because that happening leads me to other questions. How much are y'all talking already that you decide to call and text her and let her know that you're in the hospital? Did you really not think that was going to be an issue? Because
The
clearly
guy,
he didn't think it was going to be an issue. It's
he
not like
still
he
doesn't think
called
it's an
her
issue.
and didn't right. And so, how long have y'all been dating? Is this something that you
A
even need to
year.
talk about? Even see,
He
I
he
don't
he and
know.
the girlfriend have been together for a year.
And if you're truly not comfortable with it, it's not something you have to get comfortable with. You can
Yeah,
pretend you're comfortable with it, and it's just going to be a resentment that you have
yeah. I
if
think
y'all get
that's what the
married 15
caller.
years down the line.
Yeah, yeah. That's what the caller was trying to figure out. How is she going to accept this? That's what she was really asking, and if not, she was blowing it out of proportion. But it's okay if you don't like it. It's okay if you don't like the way your partner dress. You don't like the
Okay.
way they talk. You don't like the food that they eat. If you don't
You
like
don't
it, you
like the way they eat?
yeah, yeah, and that's okay. And you can use that as a reason to discern to decide that you two are not compatible.
Well,
So
and other people are going to try to tell you that you're missing out on your blessing, but if it's going to irritate you, it's not a blessing.
yeah, because one caller called in and said, "Well, no, the ratio is 13-1 in Atlanta area, men to women, and that she
Yeah,
should be cool with what she got. And if he said they're friends, they're friends. And there's like you said, there's nothing wrong with that. But
that
it's
sounds so ridiculous. I hear people say that all the time, and I can tell you, I have never had an issue being in a monogamous relationship in Atlanta.
yeah,
And when they ended, it was not because somebody cheated. Do not believe the hype.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I was thinking too. I have clients, I know people who are doing it, and you don't have to date somebody who's going
No.
to continue some type of intimate relationship with an ex. It may not involve sex, but still, if you're uncomfortable with it, you're uncomfortable with it. And I believe we talked about this topic before.
Yeah.
Remember about
Because
the
it's one
my
that keeps
buddy
coming up.
who was dating. So they're not dating anymore. Dating a woman, and they're all in their 40s and have kids and grown kids. And the ex-husband was
Right. I
in the
remember.
house eating a meal at the kitchen table when they came back home to her place after a date or something. And it was like everything was fine. And she wanted him to be cool with her ex-husband, who still had keys to the house and came over to fix things like that. Yeah.
He needs to come find me because see, he would
they're
never have that kind of issue with me.
they're not dating anymore. But it's the same situation. If you're not good with it, you're not good
It's
with it.
okay.
Because I don't know how I would react with something like that. And you and I talked about that too, and you have the same opinion, as before. There are other options out there. If you want something different, you can get it.
You sure can.
And so that's the story that I heard today that I wanted to get your thoughts about, because I know there are other people out there in some similar type of situation in a relationship where something's going on and they don't like it.
Well,
Um,
because the thing is, if you believe that you can't do any better, you absolutely won't be able to do any better. If you don't, now we pick our battles, but this sounds like this is a battle you want to pick.
okay,
Pick this battle. It's bothering you so much you want to call the radio station. This is a battle
she
you need
did.
to pick and then move
She
on.
did. Maybe this is the universe showing you that this may not be the guy for you.
Hmm.
As I grow older, I'm becoming much more spiritual, and I've learned to pay attention to those signs.
Early on, you
Because some of us don't see them early, and then you see them later, and it's like, damn,
well,
because it
let
ain't
me
gonna
tell
go
you how
away.
women are though. They always think that they can make somebody better, and you can't make somebody better, but they think that they can fix issues that aren't going to be fixed. If
Mhm.
you have a man who is smacking on food at 45, the likelihood of you getting him to stop smacking on food is low. Or for him to give his I've been on to dinner with somebody and they were smacking. I'm like, it must be good you're smacking. And they tried to tell me they weren't smacking, it was the cucumbers. And at that point I knew that was gonna be the last date.
Yeah, and for the brothers, if you got that one of those women, and y'all just dating, and you notice that she popping off on people when you go to the restaurant, to the
Okay.
mall, to the park, to the festival, to the barbecue. It's like,
Always.
and for some mild reasons, she just letting you know that's who she is, and that's something she's going to do. Nobody insulted her, but you need to realize that's who that is, and you need to ask yourself, do you want to deal with that, on a regular basis? But I like the idea about boundaries, and you mentioned about changing somebody. You used an analogy one time, buying a shoe that you love, looks great, and I
Oh.
think you look great wearing the shoes, but they're the wrong size.
You gonna make it work though.
Are you gonna make that shoe fit your larger foot? are you are you gonna squeeze that size 7 in your 8 foot?
Okay.
We've had that discussion,
Yeah.
and
You're
that would
gonna
be a
end up
great
seeing a
analogy.
podiatrist spending more money, being in more pain when all you had to do was choose a different shoe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so that's great, right there. And I hope that people listening can think about that when you're dating. I got lots of clients in that position, and trying to date, it can be tough. Trying to find a compatible mate
Hmm.
and somebody who is a good match for you, equally yoked. That is the term that I hear a lot. I'm still trying to
It's
figure
almost
out
like
what that
is that
means.
a thing, right? Is
I,
can you
I
be?
I'm still trying to wrap my brain around. Does it mean you have equal amount of debt? I don't know what. But
Or if you, but it just means, do you think that debt even matters, and you just gonna be all, you only live once, YOLO, all day? Or if you're both working towards paying your debt off, if you want kids, don't want kids, have
yeah,
kids, all these things have to be taken into account. And I think, I know, and I'm wondering the age of this woman that was on the radio, because
she
I know that
sounded like
it
she was
gets,
around 30ish. She sounded
yeah.
30.
And so that's that age where there are some women who feel like they have to have a relationship soon, because their eggs are going to wither away and they won't be
Hmm.
able to have kids.
Yep,
Or
I heard that.
um late 30s. I don't know if equally yoked is a thing. You got the young guys who are broke, you got the old guys who are whatever, they still dating young women. You
They
got the
are.
one you got the ones who are married and don't tell you, or
That is
they're
correct.
separated.
That
And
is correct.
everybody's separated. You look on the social media page, they got a wife, and when you see them, they don't even have a ring tan.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
And that is a lot of people. So talking about that, let's finish up talking to our audience about creating boundaries within a romantic relationship, and what that looks like early on, that beginning stage when you meet somebody, you're sort of infatuated with them. you know, they like you like them, and you sort of talking, texting. People text a lot now,
yeah.
and you sort of getting to know each other. What are some things we can tell people at that beginning stage about how you can start establishing your boundaries?
Who was it who said, when people show you who they are, believe them
I
the
said
first time?
that
No,
last time we were on here.
yeah,
That was one of my lessons, because I
but it was
forgot it.
like
Oprah
Ilyana
said
or
it
Oprah or
originally.
somebody said, okay.
Oprah said it originally.
So you can't. One thing Ilyana did say, and I don't listen to her too often, but one thing she did say was that you can't make somebody love you the way you want to be loved. They love their way, and you decide whether or not that's good enough for you.
Gotcha.
Um, Pay attention to the signs up front and decide right then when it happens if that's something that you can deal with. Now, that does come with some time. When
It
you're
does.
16, you think you could deal with something, then you learn that you can't deal with that. And then you're 18, and you find there's something else you can't deal with. And then you're 21, and you add to your list. But one thing you don't ever want to get comfortable doing is trying to change people.
Mm,
Even if you want to make your partner better, make sure that they're making you a better person too. That's called
okay.
a mutualistic relationship.
Well, like that. Say it again.
Mutualistic relationship.
I like
There
that.
are some areas where you're good, and there are some areas where I'm good. And other than that, it's parasitic. There's somebody in there who's a parasite. So it might be you. If that's the case, you're going to do what you do. You're going to
Look at
suck
your
the life
own
out of
toxic
somebody.
traits. And I can understand, some people, like the caller had invested a year in the relationship, and that's something else that you have to take into consideration. I think in a year you can get the hell out.
I mean,
You
like a
can
year is nothing.
I mean, yeah, because
Again, the
after you
older
get to
you
a certain
get, you just
age,
like,
a
oh, another
year, that's
year.
cool. I had fun, but look at
Okay.
these scissors. Um, but but I can understand that. But in the beginning, I also believe it's important. You talk about equally beneficial,
Mhm.
in a relationship. You got to see how they are reciprocating that energy, that time, the attention, making you a priority, whether or not you're there for them, and just simply recognizing that. That's what I have been talking about with some of my clients, because if they're not giving it back to you 2 or 3 months into the dating relationship, that shit ain't gonna change.
Well, another thing is know that there's a difference between dating and being married. A guy friend of mine and I were talking about when people are talking about women submitting, you don't ever or should never submit until you're married. That's a marriage benefit.
Yep.
And like this guy getting sick and having to go to the hospital, or whatever, and it wasn't life threatening. Why are you running to the hospital? I'm not.
I'm not mad at him for that, but go ahead.
And why is she running to the hospital though? I'm not. All right. Well, let me know what they say. I'm not
Okay.
going to. I'm not
That's
leaving. I'm not leaving work to come to the hospital and
I
we've
see.
been
Yeah, that's
dating.
that's
Now,
that's the gangsta Aisha I know right there.
if you're healthy enough, did he go by ambulance or did he drive himself?
Yeah, I think she said that he had to call the ambulance
Okay.
to get to the hospital. I don't know. She didn't go into details about that, but he's fine. He's okay, and trying to tell her to be okay with him calling the ex because they're friends.
Well, who else? Now, so this is something I never thought I would have to say, but now if I'm meeting somebody at the hospital, it's like a party. Who all gonna be there?
Okay.
Let
Oh,
me
I
know
see.
who else is coming before I come, because
I see.
maybe I don't want to sit up there for 3 hours with your mama or
Uh,
your ex girlfriend.
but you
Is
knew
there
the
anybody?
other.
Am I the only person you got coming? Do you need my support? Or do you have a whole group of people rallying around you right now? In which case I will see you um in the next day when everybody else has left you.
So we got a comment from Brown, Brown Blacks Brown. You do what your relationship can stand. Oh, okay. That you so you do in a relationship what it can stand. So that may mean pushing the boundaries a little bit, or you see how far you can go with things.
Well, so that's a good point. Once somebody tests that boundary, it still goes with that. You have to set a boundary. Okay, you tried it. It's a no for me.
Yeah, it's
Are
like
we
it's
gonna be
like
okay?
kids, and you and I, we're both parents, and at a certain age, they like to test us,
Mm-hmm.
to see how far they can get away with things, and sometimes they go too far, and sometimes they don't. So it sounds like Blacks Brown is saying you can do the same thing in a relationship to see how far you can go, and it's quite possible the brother in that relationship was trying to see how far he can go with
It
that.
could.
If
It
he can,
could
if
be.
he can keep that ex girlfriend hanging around over here on the side, and let her know that his current girlfriend, she's over here. You cool with that? That is a possibility.
And
So we
so
got
then he
to.
says, why do you have to hate / cut off the ex to move on with the next? And my answer is you don't.
You
You
don't. We
state
never
your
said that.
right.
We never
You
said that.
state your case, and if it's not something you can tolerate, then you cut them off and you move on.
Yeah. So we never said that. Well, you don't have to cut him off. What Dr. Aisha was saying, and I can, you know, I endorse it. It's all about your boundaries. And if she's not okay with it, she's not okay with it. She has every right to be upset with that. And some women would not be upset with that. She isn't. It's not settling well and within her spirit. Now, she, I believe, is asking him, to put some distance between himself and the ex because that's her values. That's what she wants. Those are her boundaries. But we never said that, you know just like the person I talked about earlier, the guy whose girlfriend's ex-husband is still coming in the house to eat food when nobody's there. That's that's a
That's
boundary.
still funny to me. Like imagine walking in and seeing somebody's ex
I
sitting up there
cannot
eating.
imagine that.
No, absolutely not.
So we
Yeah.
got another comment here. It means having the same values, faith, and dreams. I think they're
Being
talking
equally
about being
yoked.
equally yoked.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was joking about that, but but I know what it means. But sometimes when I hear people talk about it, I don't. What my meaning to equally yoked doesn't match theirs, but it is highly important to be compatible, especially in your values and how you see the world, how you operate in the world, and your faith in yourself in the relationship and your dreams and ambitions, and if you're ambitious and you with somebody who's not, that's gonna cause a problem with you.
Well, but
Anything you
there
ever.
there are some times when we as people think that something we do or something that's a part of us is a weakness. And if someone is equally yoked, they don't see what's going on with you as a weakness. They feel like it's something they can help you with really quickly, or that doesn't matter to them. Like if you have a woman who doesn't make a whole lot of money and she just wants to wait until she's rich to be in a relationship, and you're already a millionaire, you're like, that's not really a weakness. Come on in, and you can work on your craft to do whatever you want to do as long as you make sure I'm fed and keep the house clean, because that's where I am weak. Now that I'm helping you here and you're helping me there, we're equally yoked, and it is a mutualistic relationship.
Absolutely, and I do understand that, and I promote that. At least it's mutually beneficial, and that you can have an agreement. It's not always about money or who's working and making more money, but it's how you two are benefiting from it. And
But
I can
here's
also.
another. Go ahead.
Mhm.
Go ahead,
No, you
Harrison.
go. You go.
No, another important thing that for that woman or anybody else who's listening, another important point I will make is the guy has now told you what it is,
Yep.
and if he continues it, you can't get mad in the future because
Don't be
he's told you
surprised.
right.
Yep.
I mean, you could be mad, but it means nothing. My little cousin and I were talking about this. To me, he's a tall, successful, very handsome man with a successful girlfriend. I'm going to put that in quotes, but he's made it clear that he doesn't plan on marrying that girl.
Okay.
And she just does everything for him. And he's told her, and I said, why would you string her along like that? And he said, I'm not.
Yep.
I told her exactly what it is.
Yep.
And
Called
it appears that
transparency.
she thinks that I'm going to change my mind, and I'm not. He
Yep.
said,
Yep.
I don't want to marry her. I'm not ready to get married. And when I do get ready to be married, it won't be with her.
All right.
And my question still was, how would you feel if somebody did that to your sister or your nieces? And he said, I am going to continue to talk to my sisters and nieces about um, when a man tells you something, believe it and move on. He
Yep.
said they need to, my sister and my nieces need to listen, and this girl needs to listen, or she can just keep hanging out with me
Yeah.
and we can do what we're doing. And I know what they're doing. He said, we can keep doing what we're doing, and I'm
Because
okay
he's
with
okay
that
with it,
because I'm not lying.
and she's okay with it too because he's
Yeah,
been very clear with her. That's called transparency, and
yeah.
then she made a conscious decision to stay there. So he's like, if you cool with it, I'm cool with it too. So don't be surprised. And a few years go by. I hope she don't get pregnant. Don't be surprised. A few years go by,
That's
and
what I told him. You better
and
hope she
and
don't get pregnant.
she can't be mad. So this is good. We've had a very good discussion today about boundaries in a relationship and how to protect yourself. And the theme that I'm hearing is that when they show you who they are, believe it, and when they tell you, you need to believe it, and it's okay. For you to have your boundaries and stand 10 toes down. And if you don't have permission from other people, that's okay. You the one who got to be with them. Your
Well,
final
and
thoughts?
it'll hurt. It might hurt when they say that. You may be hurt that they won't change for you or they want you to change your mind, but the longer you hold on, the more it's going to hurt. You can cry for a day or you can be crying for a week or a
Absolutely.
year.
Dodge that bullet right
Okay.
now, or
Just let
ask
it
your.
right now, it's just gonna graze you. It
Yeah,
can't
it's just
hurt you
gonna
right now.
graze
Just
you, but
let it
it's
go.
only been a year, baby girl. When you get older, those years, it's like, oh, okay, I can cut this off easy, you
And
know.
it's a good story for your friends. Remember when I showed up at the hospital for that
Yeah.
dude and he had his ex-girlfriend there?
One day, young lady, you're gonna laugh at that situation and you're
Hmm.
gonna say, "Thank you, God, that you found out early on."
Yeah.
So this has been a good discussion. I really enjoyed this one, talking about it. So I want to remind you guys that you're watching or listening to Two Therapists and a Microphone. I am Dr. Harrison Davis.
And I'm Dr. Aisha Dickerson.
Tune in every Monday evening at 7 o'clock p.m. and give us a shout out. Like us on social media. Send us some of your questions about your situations and your dilemmas, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. As you can see, we are licensed and we know what we're talking about.
All right, we're master therapists.
We are master therapists. All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Like this.